These are the 8-2 homework solutions. So for all of these, if you guys notice, I kind of just started labeling my coordinates x1, y1 just to save on time for this video. So I'm just going to kind of get right to the formulas. So for number 1, this way, I would have m is equal to 8 minus a negative 20 all over 5 minus 3, which is a 28 over 2 or 14. Okay, and all of these are going to go in a similar pattern. You guys can kind of see them. So negative 3 minus a negative 12 all over 15 minus 6 would give me a 9 over a 9 or 1. Okay, negative 17 minus 3 all over 19 minus 9 is a negative 20 over 10 or a negative 2. This would be negative 3 minus 3. I'm sorry, 3 minus 3 all over 20 minus 19. Now this scenario we haven't seen yet before, but if you punch this in your calculator, 0 over any number other than 0 would just give you 0. Okay, so that's what that one's going to give you. Okay, scrolling down. Number 5 would be 9 minus 2 all over 7 minus 1 or 7, 6. And we could just leave it like that for right now. So 6 would be 0 minus 3 all over negative 1 minus a negative 5 or negative 3/4. Number 7. We would have 3 minus a negative 1 all over 0 minus 5, which would be a negative 4/5. And then number 8. Negative 5 minus 2 all over 6 minus 6 gives you negative 7 over 0. Now, when you end up having 0 on the bottom, if you type in your calculator, it's going to say error, and it's because your answer is an undefined slope. This would be a vertical line if you plotted those points. Okay, so that's what it looks like when your slope's undefined. Okay, turn the page. Number 9. 8 minus 5 all over 9 minus 12 is 3 all over negative 3, which would be a negative 1. And then we have negative 1 minus a negative 7 all over negative 8 minus a negative 3 is negative 6/5. 5 minus 5, 7 minus 2, or 0 over 5. Again, 0 on top is going to make our fraction equal to 0. Number 12. Now this one's got some fractions in it. So 1/4 minus 3/4 all over 4 minus 2. So when you subtract the fractions, 1 minus 3 is a negative, that would be a negative 2, and then it's going to be over 4. So negative 2/4 is actually negative 1/2. But you guys can just let your calculator do that, and then when you divide this out, you get negative 1/4. Okay, so then 13, I would have 1/3 minus 2/3 or 0 minus 1/2, which would be a negative 1/3 all over negative 1/2 or 2/3. (14) is 0 minus a negative 5 all over 0 minus 3 or negative 5/3. Okay, so then for 15, 2 minus a negative 3 all over 4 minus 1 is 5/3. 16, I would have 2 minus 2 all over negative 1 minus 7, or 0 over a negative 8, which would just give me a 0. 17 is 6 minus 3 all over 6 minus 0, or 3 6. And again, try to reduce all your answers into lowest form. So that would be a half. This is 2 minus 8 all over 10 minus a negative 20, or negative 6 over 30, or negative a fifth. Okay, so I know that page was a little bit repetitive, but that's just kind of you guys practicing slopes. So then we get to this page. So for this page, they want you guys to identify the slope from a given equation. So your goal with this is to make sure they are all in y equals mx plus b form, because the m is what the slope is. So for number 19, the slope of this line would just be a 4. Okay, so then moving on to 20 right next to it, this one I'm going to have to do more work because I have to set it equal to y first. So I would start by subtracting 5x on both sides, because don't forget, y gets locked in, and then you're going to kind of move everything else away from it. So I have negative 10y equals negative 5x plus 20, and then I would divide every term by negative 10. So you would get y is equal to 1/2 x minus 2. So the slope then for that equation would just be a half. Okay, 21. I just have to set that equal to y. So I would add 6 on both sides. And then I would have y is 1/2 x plus 6. So the slope on that one would just be a half. This one, now if you have a negative symbol in front of y, you're going to divide every term by a negative 1, because technically there's a 1 there. We just don't write it. So we have y is equal to 2x plus 6. So the slope of that one would just be a 2. Looking at number 23. I don't really have to do much. If you want, you can like rearrange this so that the x term's in front and that the negative 4 is second, but the slope is going to give you a 1 if it's not written there. It's not a 0. It just means that the slope is 1. So then for number 24, this one's kind of complex, but I'm trying to solve this for y. So y stays put. I move the 11x over first. So I subtract 11x. And then I would have, well, here I probably want to start with, hold on a sec. Let's put the x term first. So negative 11x plus 22 is equal to negative 22y. And then I would divide every term by a negative 22. So this ends up giving you a positive 1/2 x minus 1 is y. So again, if you don't like the way that looks, just rearrange it and move the terms, you know what I mean? Move this part over to the front. So your slope then is 1/2. So then for number 25, same thing. I'm going to start by subtracting 6x on both sides. You get negative 3y is equal to negative 6x plus 9, and then divide every term by a negative 3. So y is 2x minus 3, so your slope would just be a 2. So then for this one, I would add x on both sides, and I would have y is x plus 7. So again, if there's nothing in front, you're assuming it's a 1. So your answer to that one would just be a slope of 1. Okay, turn the page. Now these pages are going to go faster because we have a graph. So slope is a lot easier to tell when you have a graph in front of you, because the thing that you're going to do for this is rise over run. So run, no matter what, you're always running to the right. So the run is always going to be positive no matter what. It's whether you're going up or down will affect whether the outcome is negative or positive. So if you guys look at this one, I like kind of boxing it in. So I'm rising up 1 and then I'm going right 4. So my slope is going to be 1/4. So for this one, I'm rising up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, running 4. So it's 6 over 4, which simplifies to be 3/2. Okay. Now 29, I can tell right away the slope's negative because I'm going downhill. So I'm going this time down 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going down a negative 4, and then I'm running over 6. So it's a negative 4, 6, or negative 2/3 would be my answer for that one. Now for number 30, this is going horizontal. So this has no slope. Slope is how steep something is. So this is like just a flat surface. So the slope is just 0. So for number 31, you got to pick 2 points first. So I mean, 2 points that just kind of jump out at me are these two. I'm rising up 2, and then I'm running 1. So I'm going 2 over 1 or 2. So then this one is going to be a negative slope. The 2 points I'm seeing right now, I mean, I could pick any 2. I'm going down 1, right 1. So I'm actually going negative 1 slope. Okay. More graphs. Okay, so this one I'm rising up 1, running 2. So it's a half. This one I'm rising up 4 and then running 1, so it's 4 over 1 or 4. For number 35, I'm going, this is a negative slope because I'm going down 2, right 2. So this one's negative 2 over 2, which is really just negative 1. And then for 36, I'm going down 4, right 2. So it's negative 4 over 2, which is really just negative 2. Okay. Number 37, I'm going down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 4. So down 5, right 4 is a negative 5, 4 slope. Number 38, they didn't mark the points this time, so just pick any 2 you want. I'm seeing this point and this one. So I'm rising up 8, and then I'm running 3. So this would be 8/3. Okay, and then for the last page, we have our tables. Okay, so this is just a different way to do it. So like what I said before, it's easier if you just pick 2 easy points and then do the slope formula for it. So I'm just going to write the slope formula up here for this time being, just so that we have it. So it's y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay, so pick whichever 2 points look the easiest. It's better to pick positive numbers than negative, and anything with a 0 is obviously going to make your arithmetic extremely easy, but technically you can pick any 2 points you want. So for this one, I'm going to pick these 2 just because they're both positive. They're small numbers, seem kind of easy to work with. So I'm looking at 2, 3, and 4, 7. So I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so working this out, I would have 7 minus 3 all over 4 minus 2, which would be 4 over 2 or 2. So then for this one, I would probably pick the 0, 3 and the 1, 3. I'm going to call them x1, y1, x2, y2. And I would have 3 minus 3 all over 1 minus 0, or 0 over 1, which is just 0. Cool. Okay, last 2. I would probably pick 0, 1 and 1, negative 2. This is my x1, y1, x2, y2. So I would have negative 2 minus 1 all over 1 minus 0, which is a negative 3 over 1 or negative 3. All right, and then the last one here, I would probably pick 1, 9, and 3, 8. So 1, 9, 3, 8, x1, y1, x2, y2, and I would have 8 minus 9 all over 3 minus 1, which is a negative 1/2. Okay, and that's it for this homework. Thanks.